Here, the governor is talking about restoration. All we're doing is simply restoring everything that we didn't have in the last 2 years. The reason we didn't have it, we couldn't afford it. Nothing's changed. We can't afford it now. We've got an embattled employees' retirement system, embattled employees' health care system. We've got debt. We've got a higher unemployment rate. And yet he's talking about this budget, which we can't afford. It's our mutual friend Lowell Kalapa, the Tax Foundation, always used to talk about a champagne budget on a beer appetite, that kind of thing. We can't do that, and yet he's proposing it, and he's serious about it. And along with that, he wants to tax pensions on our pensioners, wants to take away Medicare B payments, wants to tax beer and alcohol and sodas and just about everything else. We can't do that.
If I can quote the governor, yesterday he said that Moses did not deliver Medicare Part B payments from the mountain. It's a human creation. The point being that he was very persistent that what has been given can be taken away, and he gave the impression that he's ready to go up to the Supreme Court and fight this thing legally.
Against the advice of his own Attorney General, who called into question the constitutionality of taking away these benefits. Look, you and I have both been critical of government spending and the size of government, but we've both agreed over the years that it is important for government to keep its promises. And when you have large groups of people, whether they're retirees or whoever they are, government workers, and they have been promised something, and they rely upon that promise and make changes in their life because of it, you've got to honor it. And that's why, look, this series is called Better Government, right? We need better government. The people are calling for better government. In 48 of the 50 states, last November, they indicated just how important it was by throwing out the kind of government that they had. We're insulated,
we're going in a different direction. But
we're going in a different direction, but how long will that last? Because if you start taking away things that you've promised, if you don't stand for anything, if you don't make improvements, then after a while, even that solidarity that you think that you have is going to waste away. And we're in danger of doing that. So we have to deliver better government.
And even those countries in the Middle East, this is a bit of a diversion, but they thought that Mubarak and Gaddafi would last forever and ever because they had such a strong hold on delivering those goods, which after a while the people said, hey, enough already. But Sam, let's look at the details.
Okay.
There's 17% of our population is over 65 years old. According to the governor's budget yesterday, there's 114 million net dollars that will come out of 43,500 people. We did the math, and it's about 2,500 per retiree. If what you just said is about they plan for this retirement, and we come and say, by the way, I'd like another $200 a month from you, that's going to upset a lot of people. And so far, a lot of people have been digging in their heels, but equally so, the governor has been digging in his heels. And how do you see this? Is a train wreck coming, or you think the governor is going to back down? He's going to wink, flinch?
I don't think the governor is going to wink, flinch. I've known this governor for 50 years, and I know his modus operandi.
You and Obama, he used to run around together, right?
Yeah, well.
Obama's father.
That's another story. No, I never knew Obama's father. I've never been to Kenya. Anyway, we've got, you're talking about $200 a month more just on the pensions tax. What about the increase in gasoline? What about the increase in food? What about the increase in electricity? All of these other things, they are increasing geometrically while you're talking about people on fixed incomes. They can't adjust to that. They can't do that. So is it a possible train wreck? Absolutely. And this is what's gone on in other states. And there are people here that are totally out of reality. They're not cognizant of that, or, as you say, they've dug their feet in, and that's what they're doing. But my belief is that the legislature will take care of some of these things, because the legislature hears from its constituents every day. The governor made that statement.
Especially we in the House.
Well,
very, very closely. Every 2 years.
Yeah.
You guys are every 4 years, except for redistricting.
Reapportionment, yeah. So I'll be joining you again next year. But we hear too. I mean, listen. I do my shopping at Safeway. I go to Long's Drugs. I'm at Zippy's, and boy, people come up to you and they let you know. And that's better than any poll, because when somebody comes up to you and they tell you what they think, or they come to a town meeting that you've sponsored, you know that they're really they're interested enough about it. It's concerning to them. They're passionate. But I don't expect the governor to back down or change, but I do expect the legislature to change, and that brings up the final point. Well, if you don't tax the pensions and you don't tax some of these other things, what do you tax if you're not willing to cut government? And he's not. Leaves...
You mean these could all be sucker punches?
You and I know they are sucker punches, and that I can see that Trojan horse now. It's a big Trojan. Wait a minute, it's got letters on it. If I look closely, oh, those letters say G-E-T, the general excise tax. And in the waning days of this session, even though we'll have people saying, well, we didn't want to do it, we said we weren't going to do it, we didn't need to do it, but now we have to do it. And you know that there are vehicles alive to do it.
If you're the governor, you can say, well, the legislature made me do it.
I know.
I didn't want to do it. I gave you alcohol tax. In fact, Sam, you're not a big drinker, but for those who drink...
I'm not a drinker. Well, Pepsi. I'm a Pepsi drinker. You know
that,
Gene.
How much more are you going to pay for the sugar tax on Pepsi? It's another 10 cents a can.
It would be another... Well, and people forget, look, we're already paying a tax. We're paying, 6 cents a can right now, recycling, plus 4.5% on Oahu. So we're already paying that. So this would be on top of that. And more importantly, the governor and several legislators not listening, because we had the Coca-Cola bottling people down here, Pepsi-Cola bottling people down here, Itoen, which is a local product, Aloha Made, and they were all talking about what the impact would be on their employees and the employees' wages and all that. So, it's one thing to say, oh, we're concerned about the obesity of little children and all that. Hey, that's the responsibility of the parents. Let the parents do that, not the Department of Health, which has shown that it can't do very much of anything right now anyway. But the idea, the easy way is to talk taxes, and then if there's a pushback on that, as you say, the governor can say, well, I propose this, the legislature wouldn't go along with it, so I guess we're forced to go with a general excise tax, which is the most productive and easiest tax to get because it's on everything.
I hope your Machiavellian hypothesis does not work out. Because
I do too.
And the governor said it so many times. That is regressive. It hurts the poorest of the poor.
Yeah.
Something that
but listen, this is the same governor that said when he was running for office two things. I will have truth and transparency, and we don't need to raise either the GET or any taxes. And then his administration put forth 6 tax increase and 2 new tax bills. And as far as the transparency, when he sent down the name of the Supreme Court nominee, Justice Sabrina McKenna, who is obviously very well qualified and who I supported, he did not release the names of the other candidates, which the last administration, the Lingle administration, did every time. They had all the nominees and they said, look, we want your input. We want anything you know, good, bad, or indifferent, we want your thoughts. He hasn't done that. No transparency there.
How about the appointments to the legislature when he put someone in his cabinet and then he appointed people to the House?
The last person, the last governor that had the opportunity to do that was Governor John Y. Hay. And so at this point, Governor Abercrombie has made 3 appointments to the Senate. How many to the House? 1, 2? But he's got the potential of even more. And what's happened to these people that, for example, that were in the Senate? They're now heads of departments. Department of Labor, Department of Agriculture. So they all get employed. In fact, Hermina Morita from the House has been nominated to head the PUC. I don't know what kind of experience she has to handle the PUC. Gary Hooser, the former state senator, who was one of 12 Democrats running for lieutenant governor. He's been nominated now for environmental control. I don't know what kind of background he has for that, but the majority party seems to take care of each other, and they seem to have enough jobs. And if they don't have the jobs, they create a vice presidency at my alma mater, the University of Hawaii. So they take care of themselves. But are they taking care of the people? That's a question.
Sam, we only have a few minutes left, given some of the things that are going. How about an update? Yeah, I mean, you're a man who loves freedom of speech, First Amendment rights.
You betcha.
What's this bill that somehow is moving through? I think the Senate about if you're a publisher.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah.
And
if you're a publisher or a writer, and you either do a book on tourism, saying this is a beautiful spot or that's a beautiful spot, somebody reads the book, they go there. They will trespass on private property, even though it may even be posted and everything else. They may get hurt there. What this bill does say, well, we're going to hold the writer responsible, the author and all that. Clear it's a clear violation of First Amendment and freedom of speech. And again, it's an idea of trying to go for deep pockets rather than hold people responsible for their own actions. If somebody trespasses, then enforce the law against trespass. If they do something else, do that. But to try to hold other people responsible and to widen that net of people that have to pay, absolutely impossible. But it's had one salient effect, Gene. That is, it's brought an awful lot of people together on that bill in opposition.
Because they see how far have we gone with First Amendment rights?
We've had a lot of dumb bills so far. Many of them have dropped by the wayside. We're going through our first crossover period. The Senate will send all of its bills over to you in the House. You'll send your bills to us. We'll start the process all over again.
Bingo is alive and well on Hawaiian Homes. Have you got that bill yet?
Not yet. We will get it. I know. The gambling bills, the regular gambling bills, seem to be dead, but again, something we remind our viewers and friends all the time, nothing is dead until the end of the session, till we turn out those lights, sing Kumbaya, and leave the building.
Until the gavel is,
That's right.
is hammered. In fact, some people are saying that there's a rumor afoot that has credibility in that there may be special sessions coming up because collective bargaining ends, or let's say has to be reached in a conclusion by 30th of June. We get out around the first week of May.
Right.
And the Council of Revenues is going to come in with more money.
Well, don't worry about
May.
that. The governor said he's very friendly to organized labor, which we know by his past record he is. So we shouldn't have any problem. He'll give away the store, and he'll mortgage your children, your children's children, and everybody else, and everybody will be happy. The problem is we can't pay for it. The problem is while private sector employees have lost their jobs, they've lost their pensions, they've lost their benefits, everything seems to revolve around the public service unions and making them happy. Why? Because they produce the manpower and the money and all of the things to keep people back in office. And it's really a deadly cycle. That's what's going on in Michigan, in Wisconsin, in Illinois, the states across the nation. They can't continue to do that.
You got a prognosis for Wisconsin?
First of all, I admire the governor. He's keeping not only his campaign promise, but he's fiscally responsible, and I think that a lot of people support him. We see all the demonstrators and protesters who are very self-serving on the news. He said collective bargaining is still alive and well. He doesn't want to lay off people, but he will. Look at how cowardly the senators, the Democrat senators are in Wisconsin. They left town. They're hiding out in a motel in Illinois, for God's sakes. All they got to do is come back and vote no. If they don't like it, vote no. But they ran away just like the representatives did in Texas several years ago over reapportionment. You and I, we stay here and vote. We get overwhelmed in the votes, but we stay here and vote. That's what we're getting paid for. That's what we get elected to do. We're responsible.
And we can only stay here for a few more seconds. Sam, what do we do? You know, you're a practical guy. Now that we've said all this, what do we ask people to do or to say? What can they do in terms of getting a hold of you or getting a hold of the legislator? What advice you got?
We're easy to get a hold of, you and I both. We give out our cell numbers, home numbers, and all that. Talk to us if you need any help, because as you say, our business cards say state representative or state senator. But the main thing is don't give up. People have been told you can't fight City Hall, you can't fight the legislature, this and that's a done deal. Don't believe it. You can make a difference, but you got to be involved. You got to be down here or send in testimony or call people and hold our feet to the fire.
Every vote counts, every opinion counts,
it.
every email, every phone call, and that's how better government can take place. That is with you and with good representatives like the senator from Hawaii Kai to Diamond Head. I'm Representative Gene Ward. Thank you for viewing Better Government. We'll be back with another update later on in the session.
Aloha.
Aloha.